Suave afternoon, suave afternoon, suave afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a suavelous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence to pay.
Okay, I'm so suavelous, you so suavelous.
Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us.
Divine social interactions remains marvelous.
Mind-blowing, suavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, let not your hearts be troubled, Dr. Brother Suave.
Divine light give you double.
Greetings. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and your host for Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. I am so excited. Listen, last week we had Mental Health Awareness Month, but we also had Proud of You Black Man and Black Man's Dialogue. Man, we had some outstanding brothers, some powerful messages, and man, I really enjoyed it. And so this month, what we're going to do is we're going to come in with some powerful game changers, movers, shakers. With this month is Black Women's Dialogue Month, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm so excited. I'm so freaking excited because these sisters are powerful. They're making things happen. I'm gonna tell you, I have a lot of respect for them, and I'm gonna tell you, fellas, listen, our sisters are doing some great and powerful things. So what I'm going to do is just really edify them because I've worked with them. I've seen them move. So I just want to just really edify them. And so listen, throughout the month, we're going to be having different guests talking about subject matters of love, relationships, personal growth and development, and self-love. So if throughout the month, if you find yourself being empowered, learning something, feel free to present us with a love offering through Cash App at Suave R Walker. That's Cash App, Suave R Walker. And listen, I'm excited. So be prepared to have a mind-blowing and thought-provoking and eye-opening experience. So our three queens having Tracy Randolph, who's a wellness and health coach. And also we have our other guest who's an ordained minister and master life coach, Zena McDonald. And last but not least, we have a licensed marriage and family therapist and trauma professional, Miss Guma Conde. So I'm not going to hold it up because we're going to have a tight and exciting show tonight. So without further ado, let's bring on our beautiful queens.
Good evening.
Suave evening, queens.
Good evening, everybody.
I am so excited. Are you guys excited?
Very excited.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to have a Suave tabulous time. So listen, today or this evening, we're just going to be talking about self-love, personal growth and development. And I want you guys, because everything as you notice I do, I don't question how I think and how it happens, but everything I do is from a social, spiritual, and clinical perspective. Now, by no means this was not strategic, but I think it was ordained, because when we're having someone from a clinical perspective, we have someone from a spiritual perspective, and we have someone from a social perspective dealing with issues of life, health, and we have someone dealing with marriage and relationships and trauma. We have someone who understands relationships, but also understand that there's a spiritual component. And so I'm just excited about having this. So tonight, we're going to engage. So what I'm going to do is just ask you guys to briefly tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself. So we're going to start with Tracy.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Randolph. I am a certified health coach, certified life coach, personal trainer, and a TV show host as well. I am a former accountant, having been in financial services for over 20 years and decided to do a transition in my life for 2.0. So that's me in a nutshell. And that's my mom. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Okay, Guma.
Well, my name is Goma Kondi, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, also a certified trauma professional, and I just work with couples, enjoy seeing people heal from trauma and thrive in life. That's what I'm called to do. So I feel privileged to be here tonight with my sisters. Thanks for having me.
And last but not least, Zena.
I am Zena McDonald. As he said, licensed ordained pastor. I'm a life coach, a master life coach as well, mentor, pastor. Had my own church for 12 years, counselor, author as well. And my ultimate goal is what we do now is we shift people intentionally and strategically from religion to relationship. So my whole goal in life is to help people focus on the relationship with God and help them be rooted in that way.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. So we're just going to give a shout out to we have JD. Thank you. Camille. We have Derek, Curtis. And just thank you guys for showing up. Oh, my cousin Ashanti. Thank you. So listen, I'm excited. And listen, I love that when you said from relationships, from religion to relationships. And I just think that over the years, we have seen in church haven't put much emphasis on addressing mental health issues, addressing functional relationships, and understand we have to have balance. You understand? That's why everything I like to do is from a social and spiritual perspective. So listen, hey auntie, my auntie. So listen, I'm going to start this off, but before I do this, I like to give a disclaimer, okay? So my disclaimer is a new concept is going to stir some emotion, but sometimes a powerful emotion can help solve a problem. So my primary objective for today's social therapy with Dr. Brother Suave is to empower and coach the listening audience to the championship of self-actualization, and that is self-love. Ladies, sisters, queens, you owe it to yourself to have a better understanding of life and what it has to offer you. But we all know each and every one of us deserve the very best, but we got to stop compromising, and we got to stop settling, and we got to start putting God first, got to start putting ourselves first, because most of us, for the most part, have done enough compromise and last us a lifetime. So at this point, we got to learn to love ourselves and love ourselves some us. So ladies, y'all know, I want everybody to repeat after me. Say, I love myself some me.
I love myself some me.
Now, hey, do y'all want me to cut this off? I need y'all to say conviction. Y'all are leaders in our community, our world. So we want to say this together with some conviction here. So I love myself some me.
I love myself some me.
Amen. Amen. So like I always say, one should have unconditional love for themselves because life is too short and too precious for our intellectual justifications and excuses. A lot of times we try to be so smart, but there's nothing better than wisdom. You understand? Excuse me. So tonight, I got two questions. And the first question is, why are we always looking for someone to complete us? Now I'm going to answer and I'm going to ask you guys to answer on your own terms. So first of all, I really hate this cliche because I think we got to realize that having someone in our lives, they don't complete us. God completed me. And understand, we got to adapt the idea that we are complete all by ourselves. You understand? So when someone comes in our life, they don't complete us. They supplement us. It's almost like you got a job to paying all the bills. You understand? And you start to work a little overtime, get a little side hustle. You don't need it because that initial job pays all the bills. But guess what? It's always nice to have. And so you start to understand about relationships. The most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. You understand? So that's why I don't like that cliche. So we're going to start off in the reverse order, and we're going to start off with Zena.
All right.
So the question is, why are we always looking for someone to complete us?
I feel as though when we look for someone to complete us, it's not necessarily or at all times is it from a place of insecurity. However, when God created us, he created us relationally because he's a relational God, right? And so a lot of times because we cannot see him, we look for someone to a little G God, if you will. We put him in that place. We always like to be pleasing to someone. We always like the affirmations for someone. That's fine in and of itself, but at times if we're out of balance and don't have, and the root and the foundation is we haven't done our healing work and we haven't truly learned to love ourselves or be okay with being by ourselves, then it gets off balance. So we desire affirmations. That's a natural humanistic way and feeling, but there's times where if we seek someone else's validation wholeheartedly, where it takes us off balance, like in other words, I can't function without it, then we're off balance with that.
Okay, great. Goma?
Well, I think I agree with my sister Zena. I think, the truth is we were created for connection, right? We're created for connection. We're created for attachment. You know, Suave, that's what I do. Most of my work is attachment work. So I too, I don't, not that I dislike the statement, you complete me, but I think we misappropriate it so much, right? That it's
Yes.
become taboo. When the
Yeah.
truth is,
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with you having someone, whether you want to call it supplement, complement, complete, because we're all incomplete people, right?
Mhm.
We're never going to be complete people until we return to our maker. That's the fact. So in the process, there are ways that you will complete me and I will complete you, right? And so that's
Mhm.
part of the journey. But I think I do agree with her that the challenge we have is that we don't have what I like to call our anchor. I think when your anchor is in Christ, then whether someone comes or someone goes, you know that you continue on this journey toward Christ, toward completion, because you know where your anchor is.
Yeah.
So that's my take on this. Our anchor needs to be in the right place. Put it in Christ, and
Exactly.
everything else will fall in place.
And Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I agree with both of these beautiful ladies, but I would just challenge a little bit more about what Mrs. Dina was saying about that self-development piece. I think a lot of times we are incomplete within ourselves. There's some trauma that we haven't gotten over. There's just some work that we haven't done that we need to do to complete ourselves. It's part of what you were talking about earlier, Swab. And once we do that work, then we don't necessarily feel like we need a person to complete us, but more so complement us.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I like the different perspectives. And the reason I say, because sometimes, reason I speak from a social, spiritual, and clinical perspective, because we need balance. Because sometimes we can get so spiritual and we think that marriage is for earth. Because marriage is not a prerequisite to get to heaven. Just letting you know. So when we completing, we have to work on ourselves, because you got one heart, one life, one soul. And you can't bring your husband, your wife, or your children. So you have to understand how important it is about loving yourself and working on yourself mentally, spiritually, socially, and your health and everything. Because at the end of the day, no other person completes us. So we have to be mindful of the balance. You understand? And this is why some people say super spiritual but not earthly good. But we have to have a balance, because we need our God, we need our mental health, we need our social, our intimacies, and our connections with mankind. Okay, and thank you guys. I love the perspectives. So the second one is, why are we so captivated with the idea of being in a relationship instead of building a strong relationship with ourselves? And that's what I said earlier. And so the answer that I have is that is that we got to discard the old ways of thinking that have been proven to be counterproductive. We have to strive to cast down the idea that we don't have the ability to have a strong and loving relationship with ourselves. And this is what I'll talk about: self-love. We put so much emphasis on all these distractions and everything, and we don't put the emphasis and the energy and the time and the work into ourselves, because we always thinking about relationship. This is one of the things that when I lecture and I talk about the difference between sometimes men and women, about this huge preoccupation on marriage, relationship, and children. And sometimes when you put emphasis on all those distractions, you forget about loving yourself. You become sometimes codependent, and you also sometimes becoming a people pleaser. So you put a lot of emphasis on everything, and then it's just like, you remember, Tracy, when I came on your show about how to prepare for a relationship. People so fascinated with being in a relationship, they don't get themselves mentally, spiritually, financially, and socially prepared to be in the relationship that they work in. And so we have to really put emphasis on ourselves. And sometimes, society has us thinking that selfish is so bad. But again, as I said earlier, I got one heart, one soul, and one life. You would never come before me, because I
That's
know
right.
how it is to guard my heart, to guard my soul, and to guard my life. Now, if I had now I got a few dollars, boom, you need 100, you need 100, fine, I can give it. You need some blood, I can give you some blood. In fact, out of you three, I may give you a kidney. You understand? But the one thing I cannot give is my heart, my life, and my soul.
That's
So I
right.
take those things important. And that's the component when I'm talking about self-love. You understand?
Yeah.
So this is why. So I'm gonna break down what I'm talking about, self-love, and then we're gonna get into our meat and potatoes. How's that?
That's
Sounds
good.
good.
Okay, ladies. So when I Anybody know my mantra is self-love? And I know I've been talking about self-love since 1989. Now it's one of the things everybody talk about now. So, ladies, when I talked about self-love and I came up with this definition of it, and it's called self-love, is a deep sense of self-esteem, self-worth, self-respect, self-dignity, honesty, pride in ourselves caused by an abiding faith and belief in God. Now, as far as concerned, that's powerful. You understand? And so as I break this down, because I'm going to give the benefits of understanding self-love, and they're going to tell you the consequences when you don't have self-love. So when you have self-love, talking about the first one, you're talking about self-esteem. When you have an opinion of yourself, you understand? A lot of people say, "Oh, Suave, you're arrogant." I think they get arrogant mixed up with confidence because I have a high self-esteem. You understand? And so when I have a high self-esteem, it lets you know I know that I'm worthy. And therefore, that's the quality that makes myself desirable because I know something about me that is desirable. It could be my intellect, it could be my suave-tastic good looks, or it could be my suave look, my clothes. It's funny, but it's just something that I know that makes me desirable. And so it's not arrogant, but it's confidence. And so because of that, I got a level of high respect. So if I know I'm looking good and feeling good and I know I'm worthy, I'm having standards. So I have self-respect and I'm having this high reverence for myself and admiration to always consider myself. Remember, you got to consider yourself. A lot of people are so codependent, they do everything for everybody. And then after everybody take advantage of them, abuse them, then they mad and blaming them, but not taking ownership and responsibility and paying attention to their codependent tendencies of doing everything and leaving themselves out. And so also, again, that's why I have that level of self-respect. And because I have self-respect, I have self-dignity because I'm going to always be poised to have a presence about myself that commands respect, not demand, but commands respect. You understand? I'm not fighting for respect because it's something about me that commands it. I ain't got to be fighting for it because I carry myself in a way that commands it. And last but not least, so when you have this self-dignity and you're feeling good about yourself, you learn how to have self-preservation. And I have this instinctive drive to avoid harm. It could be emotional harm, physical harm, mental harm, sexual harm, any kind of harm. And so here, when you're mindful of those things, you exemplify self-love. Now here, the last part, and then we're going to go into our dialogue. The negative things. So when you don't have self-esteem, you don't have a high opinion of yourself.
Right.
And you don't feel good. You're always feeling bad, depressed, and therefore you don't feel you worthy. You don't feel you worthy to be in functional, healthy relationships. You tolerate anybody. You sit there, somebody say hi to you, and you just breaking your neck because you're thirsty, and you're happy just as someone because you don't have this quality about yourself. You don't feel that, and then therefore you don't have high respect. You don't have this reverence and considering yourself. You're always considering other people, and guess what? Your respect is super low. And guess what? When your respect is super low, oh my God, your dignity is even lower. And you're not poised to have a presence about yourself to command because you don't put down and carry yourself. You just looking like you looking for some type of attention and some kind to, and people can talk to you any kind of way. And when you be able to treat you any kind of way, there is no self-preservation.
That's
You
right.
end up just like letting people treat you any kind of way, having a lot of toxic people around you, jeopardizing. Remember, I'm talking about the physical sexual harm. A lot of people who have STDs, you're not checking to see what they have, see what they have mentally, emotionally, and physical. So these are the consequences of not having self-love. So ladies, I don't know, but I'm ready to get down. So tell me a little bit about your perspectives on when we talk about self-love. I'm going to start with Guma.
Well, I think the challenge that we have as people when it comes to self-love, for one, is that we've been given messages since we were children,
Oh.
right? So we talk a lot about people need to love self, and that is true. But I think what we really need to be talking about more so than anything else is how we start. How do they start? Because many people don't know where to begin,
That's right.
Okay.
right? You've been taught
Yes.
since you were a child that you're no good, you're going to amount to nothing, right?
Uh-huh.
You're not smart, you're not pretty, etc., etc., etc. Now the world tells you, well, love yourself, you know, And people are probably going, but how? How? So I always say start with the self-reflection.
Yes.
That's where we need to start. Start with the self-reflection. How did I get here? Right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I view myself and how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
Who told me these things about myself?
Yes.
Right? Who told me them? And then what do I really want to say about myself? Writing our own narratives. That's a big part of this self-love journey. What do I want to say about myself? How does God see me? That's really where we need to focus,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think yes, we need to love ourselves, but what we need to do is reflect on our lives and figure out how we got the definitions that we got for ourselves that makes us not to love ourselves, and then begin to define ourselves based on who God says we are ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Zena.
I 150% agree with that. And I'm just going to tag on to what she said, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so in finding ourselves, I found that it's valuable to, one, speak our truth. In order to speak your truth, which is tough, right? You have to accept some things, the truth, what has been said to you. You have to confront those things, confront your truth, confront those misconceptions that your grandmother told you, that your grandfather told you, or told whomever. You have to confront those truths of what's truly the issues in your family, in your generation. You have to retrace those things and deal with them. Oftentimes in our families, the truth is still unspoken, and so the hurt is generational and it passes on. So guess what? We're not dealing with the root of the issue. We're watching the symptoms unfold, and we trace back. And actually, no, not many of us in the family line loves ourselves. We're just living. We're just surviving. We're not thriving. And so in order to get to the root of something, something must be pulled up. So in order to truly get to self-love, you have to, like she said, you have to go back to the beginning. And in order to go back to the beginning, you have to deal with some hard truths, right? And so oftentimes we don't like to deal with the hard truths because for so long in our families, we hushed mouth on the truth of what really has gone on in our families, which is called so much pain throughout. So now our family is numb because it's gone on from generation to generation because no one will address the root of the issue. In order to have self-love, you can't just start out loving or can't just start out affirming, because the words that I'm saying means nothing to me because I've always been spoken into in a negative way, or whatever happened to me, no one ever loved me enough to address it or to help me address it. So sometimes I have to get to the point where I gotta address it myself, because why? Mama them, auntie them, uncle them are still stuck, and what goes on in this house stays in this house. So we have to get to the point where we can challenge people, and I'll be done, where we can challenge people to, you got to have courage enough to speak your unspoken truth, because the life you save is going to be your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I'm going to give you amen, thumbs up, and I'm a co-sign those things. So one of the things, again, over the years, people misunderstood who I was and getting arrogance mixed up with confidence. So as a kid, see, I understand when hurt people. And so we have to understand when people, when they're saying certain things about you and what place they're coming from. So as a kid, people always say, Dad, you always feeling this. Well, I was taught to have confidence. I didn't have to learn confidence through a crisis. I didn't have to learn confidence through a workshop. I didn't have to learn crisis through a minister saying you love yourself, some of you. No, remember I said things start at home. And so I've learned how to always believe. I refuse to believe what other people said about me, because when they will say something negative, it's only coming from a place of hurt. So they're not saying, it's just like, I remember when I was a kid, and one of my family members used to get mad at me because I'm always getting into trouble. And they say, you know what, you're going to go to jail. You're going to sit there. They're going to do this. I'm like, and this is why I used to get slapped in the mouth as a kid. I'm like, you just saying it because you're mad. You so smart, Ellen. I said, you don't mean that, because guess what? I'm your family and you love me. So why are you saying it? Because you're hurt and you're frustrated. You don't know how to communicate, particularly. Here, let me say, we have a Derek Andrews. It says, sadly, too many have allowed the definition of self-love to be administered by other needs, desires, and wants, and
That's
seeking
right.
acceptance. Exactly.
That's right.
And so that's what I'm saying. So again, I always loved myself, and I didn't have to look for love from anybody else.
Mhm.
Even if my mom, dad, and family members didn't love me, that's
That's
their
right.
issues. That's
That's
their
right.
pain. That's what they're dealing with. Because again, I got one heart, one life, one soul. Because guess what? Mom, dad, sister, aunt, brother, sister, grandma, granddad, they can't get me into heaven. They can't
That's
get me
right.
where I need to go. You remember
Mhm.
when we in grad school, when we was in college? I had to pass those tests. I had to study. So I had to do the work. They could be encouraged and motivate, but at the end of the day, I have to do the work. And
Mhm.
so we have to understand. And so when we understand it, even when you was talking about Zena about speaking your truth, sometimes it's so imperative to understand the difference between truth and perception.
That's right. That's
So
right.
here's an example. A lot of times I would give some insight in people, and they would say, "Oh no, this is how I feel." I'm gonna tell you something.
Mm.
I try to help them understand. The one thing I'm adamant about is not being adamant about anything. Because as I grow, as I learn, as I develop, as I get mentored, as I get more information and more insight, I have a
Mhm.
different perspective. And
Mhm.
sometimes when you're trying to tell people, and that's why I always tell people, you know, get some insight from because people always say experience is the best teacher. Those again, social learning. The best teacher is learning from the words of the wise. Because I don't need to have
That's
a
right.
negative experience to learn, but listen to the words of wisdom to help us get insight because we don't have
Mhm.
to have those experiences. And
Right.
sometimes when you're trying to tell people stuff, they're not listening. That's why they find themselves in hardships and learning.
Mhm.
So as I got to ask you, ladies, at your age right now, take off 10 to 15 years of your life right now. You see where you at and how much you've grown and how much you learned?
Mhm.
Take yourself about 10, 15 years back. Now, if you know you can see the difference in your growth or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if somebody was telling you something back then and you was contradicting them and telling them, oh no, and then here it is 15 minutes, the next second, you can see how much you didn't know. You
Mhm.
understand?
Mhm.
And the last part I wanted to say is sometimes people have the hardest time accepting the truth. And so the truth, and again, it was one of my suave philosophies is I'm a flu shot. It may hurt, it may be painful, but it's in your best interest. So always understand when I'm saying something to you, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm
That's right.
saying something to empower you, to educate you, and prevent you from having hardships. Because like I said in my book, one of the worst experiences, one of the most painful experiences in life is the pain of regret.
Mhm.
You
That's
understand?
true.
And so and so I am just excited. I don't know what happened to Tracy. I hope that she could be able to log in. But if not, we're gonna keep it moving. So I have a question for you, ladies. Um, Tell me about your experiences when you was able to see you transitioning and understanding how important um, learning to love yourself and working on your personal growth and development and how you can reflect back. And remember, say about reflections, Gumas, and
Mhm.
reflect back where you are now and where you were then, and what aspirations, what influenced you, and what made you think about working on yourself.
Well, I went on what I call the who am I journey.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
It's sort of what I'm talking about here. I went on that who am I journey. And for a long time, like you, Suave, I allowed others to define me, right? Others meaning family members, what they thought about me, how they felt about me. Those things pretty much predicted how I lived my life on a daily basis, right? One of the things that I experienced as a kid was I was a very serious child by nature. So the interpretation was I must be selfish or rude because I'm very serious. So I was dismissive
Hey, Brandy.
when none of those things clearly define me at all. So I
Mhm.
had to get to a place where I did my who am I journey and I thought, where did I get these messages from? And I was
Mm.
able to go back and trace them. And of course, as you get older, you see people live out their own lives and you go, okay, I understand why you would say these things, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's not for me. I'm going to leave that right there and I'm going to pick on my own definition that I want, for my own life so that I can live my fullest life to the best of my ability,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so just really doing that who am I, going, reflecting on my past, finding out who gave me those stories that I kept carrying forward, leaving those stories right there for them to keep telling, writing my own story so that I
Yes.
can live in my own truth. And part of that telling my own story was learning to forgive myself for believing their stories all those
Mm,
Mhm.
years,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
once I learned to forgive myself, my
Hmm.
next step was to learn to celebrate myself
Yeah.
Yes.
and be
Yes.
okay with that,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right? So that's kind of been my journey. It's been reflection, forgiving myself, and then celebrating myself. And I'm on this path of celebrating myself and others right now.
That's
And
right.
that's what I do.
Yes. You
That's
know what?
beautiful.
And again, this is what I'm saying. You know, when people, it's funny. Again, I keep going back to the arrogant thing. You know,
Mhm.
when people who have low self-esteem, lacking self-love, and not taking the work and taking their story and creating their own life, and not getting the place where they are, and they're frustrated emotionally, spiritually,
Mhm.
financially, or professionally, they
Mhm.
perceive your confidence as arrogance. And then,
Mhm.
so when they finally wake up and have some insight and
Mhm.
grow and start accomplishing things,
Mhm.
have a different perspective. And that's why I say the one thing I'm adamant about is not being adamant about anything. So you have to be humble and start to
Mhm.
understand when you see people walking with strength, they put some work in.
That's right.
You know, I mean, people sit there and say, like, I say, I earned my ego. You
Mhm.
understand? This was not overnight. You understand? Years. You know what I'm saying?
Earn my
I'm
ego.
sitting there saying, I'm
I
proud of you,
love
black
that
man.
one.
Anybody know me? I put in some work. You understand? So I'm
Mm.
not walking around here like I'm gonna like like this false sense of security. Man, I didn't put in some work. I didn't
Yeah.
overcame. I didn't believe in myself.
Oh,
Hey,
Mm.
you know, what they say, the Bible says faithful must see moves mountains, but I tell you, doubt of must see counsels blessings. You got to have 1% faith and zero doubt because 99.9 won't do. So I could not afford to have a must see
Mhm.
of doubt. I had to love myself some me
Mm.
and push forward, and so ladies, man, Goma, you are all that in a bag of chips and plus a chip on the side.
Yes, she
So,
is. Yes, she
so,
is. Yes,
so
she
Zena,
is.
go ahead and lay
thank
it down on them.
God. Thank God for God.
Yes.
Thank God for God. I promise
Yes.
you. My story is similar but flopped. So I was a little girl in a nutshell, raised with no mother. My mother died when I was 8 years old. So I was raised with a father who was a rolling stone, literally, right? So I had no one really speaking into me. So I had to then define who I wanted to be because there was no example set before me, right? For short years, 6 years maybe that I could remember things with my mother, but nothing really else positive after that. Now, right? So then I had to learn how to receive a healthy form of love because all the women who wanted to be with my father bought me things to get to him. So it was not authentic, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
I had to, at a young age, say this is not real, so I don't want it.
Mm.
I was considered disrespectful, but it wasn't real, so I didn't want it. Therefore, I couldn't receive something that wasn't genuine. So I had to learn how to define what I want, write my own script, if you will, to a degree, and learn how to be okay with being me, but learn how to love me by saying, how do I want to look? What do I want to represent? Um, uh, I always tell people I was raised by wolves. It's my little running joke. But what I mean by that is I truly did watch pillars in the community. I truly did look out, look, and I took what I needed, I used it, and what I didn't, I didn't. So I watched the ladies in the church. I would ask questions to the first lady, and is it okay to do this or whatever the case may be. My best friend's mom and sisters, and I listened in on when they were chastising their children. I listened in and took what I needed to learn. And when I went to church with them during the summers and different things, so I learned literally from the community,
Mm.
right? And
mm.
so I'm not a product of where I come from as it pertains to it passing on because there was no foundation, no parental foundation laid. So when people say, well, how did you get to be so grounded? One thing I can say that my mother did lay for me was the foundation of Christ.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank God for God. Thank God for God, because even in that interim impact in my life that I knew I could always go back to that because that's all I really knew. And so my father wasn't a religious man or church going, or he went to church, but he just went to
Mm,
church. So I had to learn and write the script on what is Zena going to look like?
Mhm.
mm,
I had to learn how to love me. I had to learn how to be okay with me. I had to learn how to, now here, a lot of mistakes happened along the way where I was looking for love in all the wrong places as a young girl, right? With different relationships and different guys, only to find out a lot of things I learned even from their mothers and those little boyfriends. So I literally pulled on any and everybody that I could where it was positive to help me cultivate what is Zena gonna look like.
Yeah.
I thank God for God because he had embedded in me some type of knowledge, wisdom, desire, thirst, if you will, to want to be better than what the product of where I was coming from. That was remaining with me. Let me say it that way. So I had to go on my journey at a very, very young age, and I had to look and always observe and discern things very early on, to take those things that what I thought was an attractive appearance of a woman, if you will, but then I took it a step further. One of my things is I don't like to fake it until I make it. I like to faith it until I make it, and then I believe in patterning myself to a certain degree off of positive things, but then tailoring it to what I need. And so my self journey and self-care and self-love kind of evolved and started along those lines. And then as I got older and got into church and, got to know God more personally, then obviously the Holy Spirit helped me the rest of the way. He helped me all the way, but, I was more knowledgeable that he helped me the rest of the way. And so it was those things, those tough conversations. I always stood for truth. And so I had to truly find out who was my mom. I see what my dad represents, but who was my mom? And so I had to find, just do different things of that nature to learn how to be by myself and be okay in the skin that I'm in. Didn't think I was pretty, obviously, at a young age. Back in the day, dark skin, everybody was, no pun intended. Back in the time that I came up, I'm over 50. So back in the time I came up, everybody was into the light skin people, not really into the dark skin sisters. And I was always thick. And I had to get past all of that because I had no one speaking into me. So I had to get to a point where I said, but you're pretty, you're beautiful. Your personality, I couldn't act ugly. I had to learn how to forgive authentically. So that my character, God helped me develop my character. And so I was able to physically see that you are beautiful. And it's in those things until my inside was built and then radiated on the outside. So then what I've learned, to tag on to what you said really briefly, is that learn that when you walk in your character in good integrity, when you walk in confidence, it's intimidating. I've also learned that from that, I no longer take it personal when people talk about it, because I realize that it's misdirected passion.
Yes.
And when you realize it's misdirected passion, you no longer take it personal. But like you said, this anointing costs something. You have to pay the price, but none of us know what price we have to pay.
Amen.
And so it took some blood, sweat, and tears, like literally, in order to, a lot of tears, but it took a lot of forgiveness all the way around. Even me forgiving my father. Why? Because he only knew what he knew.
Yes.
Right? So here's the thing, hindsight going forward, I'm glad now that he didn't pour into me, because it would have been toxic.
Yes.
So sometimes we look and we want different things to happen from a person who should, by right of birth, oh, you're my father, you should be speaking into me. I didn't have my mother. But what he would have poured into me would have made me worse off. Yes. Because he wasn't capable, or he wasn't equipped, I should say, with giving me what I actually needed.
Oh, yes. Man.
So that self-care journey, that speaking your truth, that dealing with the cards that you're dealt with, you know what I mean? You have to, and I'm a very transparent person, because why? People don't often, especially pastors, if you know me, you'll know that it just is what it is, especially pastors, we try to come with a different hierarchy. Well, that's not who I'm called to be, because I need to reach people where they are. And so here's the thing, I'm willing to be transparent, because if my testimony and my story along the way can help you understand, it's my job as a leader to show you how to go forward.
Absolutely.
And so that self-care journey basically started there.
Yes. And like you say, transparency. And my quote is, transparency equates to empowerment. And you definitely empower people based on the comments, and that is transparent. So listen, we went over our time. So what we're going to do is go into station identification, and we'll be right back.
What's up, everyone? I'm Brandy the Disconnector, wife, show host, entrepreneur, investor, and ICS certified life coach, here to tell you that I'm on NPNTv, the network that is by us and for us. Lock in and let's get it.
Hello, my name is Goma Marie Conde. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified trauma counselor, and I am on NPN TV.
And we're back. This is Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, with our very special guest, Ms. Guma and Ms. Zena, on our Black Women's Dialogue, talking about self-love. So listen, before I go, because I actually forgot, I'm going to ask my guest to help me out, because I want to give away a copy of the 10 Commandments of Intimacy. And also, I want to also give away I Love Myself Some Me t-shirts. You know, the summer is coming up. So you have a tank, and I'm gonna tell you, they're nice. So again, what do you think we can come up with a good question or something that someone you could pose to the audience and they can get them a shirt or a book? I should have prepared, but I didn't. I got so excited about other things, and of course. Oh well. Anyway, when we come up with something, we'll just go ahead. So Guma, I want to ask you a question. Now. A lot of times when we look at trauma, mental health, but not necessarily mental health in the way society see. Remember, health, a healthy mind. Mm-hmm. How do you believe trauma has really impacted our ability to have self-love and to get into strong, healthy, and compatible relationships? Because I see a lot of times people think that this is just happening, but they're not understanding how trauma has significantly impaired their ability to think right, has impaired their ability on how they perceive the world and how it is. Because I see people doing the same thing over and over, and they don't take ownership. They'll sit there, and I tell people, redlining is a conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Driving while black is a conspiracy. Mm-hmm. But keep getting in these staying in these toxic relationships and making poor choices, that's not a conspiracy.
That's right.
So can you go ahead and expound on that, Guma?
Yeah, you know, I think we're talking about that generation, or sometimes what we call intergenerational trauma, right? Yeah. One of the movies that I've really enjoyed watching lately is the movie Encanto. And you know, it's out about this Hispanic family, and you know, but that movie really, if you have the chance, watch it. It really shows you how trauma goes down from one generation to the next generation, and how anxiety and depression can be so thick in the home that you can cut it with a scissors, literally. Right? Yes. But we see those things as excellence. We call it Black excellence, right? Or those are also from Africa. You know, you're in this country and you have to be your best and you have to perform at the highest. But there's so much anxiety with that, because what it is we're really living through other people's lenses. That's really what's happening, right? We don't have an authentic way of being. And so when you go back to where Zena even talked about, you know, people, and you too, about people being jealous when you are living your authentic self and they see it as you being cocky. The reason people are jealous or even envious is really because they're not being authentic to self.
That's right.
Yes.
Right? So I talk to young women all the time, and I tell them, I say, when you leave, say you're leaving your house as a young woman, and you're getting dressed and you lay out your clothes, right? If you're laying out your clothes and you're saying to yourself, when I put this on and I step outside, they're going to love me. That's a problem.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you put it on and you say, I love me some green, and when I put this green on, I look in the mirror, I love the way I look, right? So now when you step outside of that home, whether people see you or not, you are so good
Yes.
in that green. And what they're going to now perceive as arrogance is that confidence that you have because you feel so good doing something that you love, wearing a color that you love. But if you wear the name brand and the blah, 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 nothing wrong with that. But if you're wearing it because they are going to admire you, because they are going to respect you, because they are going to like you. Now, when you get outside and they don't like you and they don't admire you, now you're disappointed and angry and frustrated, and everybody has a problem except you,
Yes, Nancy.
Except you.
Yeah.
right?
You know,
Except you.
and that's the thing. And, I don't know if you guys heard this. I heard it a million times. I'm not going to impress nobody. No, I love myself. I love dressing. I like my presentation, and I like my brand. So therefore, it's because I want to do it. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start last year. It started the year before last. It's been my whole lifetime. I remember I was talking to my mom last week. She was sitting there saying, when you was a kid, how you used to always lay your stuff down. Because I always like what I like. That was just me and my personality. It's just like, you ever saw the thing when you saw Dion laying all his socks down? That when I played football, I used to lay my socks, my elbow pads, and all that. And it just was always a part of me. You understand? And then, again, when I was talking about it depends where it's coming from. That's coming from a certain place, your agenda. You going out there trying to impress other people, you still empty in the inside.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So anybody know, anytime I go, I just take pride in who I am, and my recipe is for me. You understand? It's like people compete for others. With others, I'm competing with myself because I always constantly try to constantly improve, constantly be mindful, and have my self-awareness. And that's why I have my self-love. And so those are things that are so important, Guma, that I learned to appreciate about myself and not doing it for anybody else.
That's
You
right.
understand? It's just like when it's like, a black man, heterosexual male, marriage and family therapist. That's I remember,
Exactly.
I remember doing women's studies in college. Like, what? Why would you do women's studies? I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me because this is what I want to do. I'm being my authentic me, and I'm doing it. I don't look for validation. I don't look for approval. I know what I know, and I'm doing it for me. You understand? Sometimes people just do things, but they don't understand. And so many people are in that group of doing things for other approval. The other people who actually do things for their own personal self-gratification, they see as odd. You understand? So thank you.
And Brother Suave, maybe that is the quiz that you're giving to your audience for the shirt in the book. Maybe what new thought have they been able to gather from watching you this show today? Or what new idea do they have going forward? And they can share that.
Okay, but go ahead and present the question.
So in therapy, we use the word insight, right? Pretty much what light bulb went off for you. That's really what it means. So what light bulb went off for you as you've been listening today? Drop that in the comment and you will get the gifts that Brother Suave has to give you.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I did the Jedi mind trick. Hey, now while you see I'm laughing, watch this. Like, Z, you come up with the next one.
I forgot the whole question.
No, what we're doing is we're going to give away one book and one T-shirt. And so we want you to present a question. So we have Dare Andrews. Is it God does not make junk? Walk that thing out, Doc.
We need to see it.
It said no one can be you. So let's not waste the opportunity to love this. Yes,
that's awesome.
Thank you, Derek.
Yes, love it.
Okay, love myself.
Love myself.
So this is Jermaine's So
Jermaine
the
Goffney?
question was,
Yes.
your question was,
Yes. What aha moment or what light bulb went off for you during this conversation today? So what have you learned?
okay, so Nancy said, what the
Oh, you're
question
saying
is,
that
it broke up. So
So tell,
repeat
okay, here's the question. We want you to write in the comment, what is something new that you learned today that will help you love yourself better going forward?
Yeah,
Your
that's what I was
aha
getting ready to
moment.
say.
Mhm.
Yes, I was just getting ready to say that.
Yeah.
And Z, you think about your next question because we got about 8 minutes.
So that's basically what she's saying. What was your aha moment in
Yeah.
tonight's podcast? What was your aha moment?
Yeah.
What tugged at you? What was like, okay, that's good. Aha. What was your aha moment?
Okay. So
You
when
said
we
we need
get
another
those answers,
question.
yeah, another question, because if they answer that, they'll get that and they make their choice if they want a book or a t-shirt. So Nancy says, dig deep, heal first. Okay, so Nancy wins.
There you go.
Okay,
good.
she wins. So Nancy, what do you want? A book or a t-shirt?
Okay.
In fact, do me a favor, inbox me
Yeah.
what size the t-shirt if you want a t-shirt, and you just put in a comment if you want a book. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say tonight's winner is Nancy Nadell.
Yes.
Okay, and number 2 question.
Number 2 question. Aha moment. That was it. What was your aha moment?
Okay.
Broken pieces can still make a complete model. He's answered 3 questions, Brother Suave. He's responded 3 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, you can't get it. I love myself, some me. They for ladies. So you can get a copy of the 10 Commandments of Intimacy. And so what I'm gonna do is inbox me your address, and I'll send it to you. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So Jermaine Godfrey, he said, look, you know what?
Let's feel about you.
Jermaine, you can have an option to, you want to teach. Oh, that's a guy. So you can get a copy of the book. Just inbox me your address and I'll send it to you. Okay.
That's awesome.
Thank you. So we have three winners tonight. That's Jermaine, Nancy, and Derek. Yay! Yes. Listen, man, it was so much more I wanted to discuss, but I knew that it was going to be tight. Because guess what? I was going to talk about a little part of this book, and it's called The 5 Levels of Building, because it's levels to this thing.
That's right.
Man, yes. Oh man.
Jermaine says I'm a girl, so she wants to choose a t-shirt.
Jermaine, I knew that. That's what I said. You can get it. I love myself. For me, you don't have to tell me that. I know that. Hello. So, do you want the book or the t-shirt? Don't try to embarrass me in front of my peers. I ain't no killer, but don't listen. Don't be calling me out trying to embarrass me on national TV.
Woo! Go back to your face.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
that's right.
Thank you, Nancy. This dialogue was, I don't know what that word means, awesome, but I know that it was suavesome.
It was suave.
So, and respect my vocabulary words,
Vocabulary.
On my show, using the wrong words. Okay, I ain't no killer. I'm telling y'all starting. So listen, again, I don't know if y'all want to come back and we can do, because I want to discuss the 10 Commandments of Intimacy. And I want to get your feedback because it's 10 Commandments. But before we even get into the 10 Commandments, I want to discuss those 5 levels. You understand? Because a lot of times in building relationships, like my grandparents say, courting. It's a courting process.
Yeah.
You understand? And you got to understand. And so, man, I wish we can go into it. Y'all want me to go into this thing right quick? We got 5. No, we don't. We don't have time. I'm not going to play time. So here, what we're going to do is
she says part 2,
please.
Oh, that's awesome. It was good. Man. It's definitely
good. It was good.
Yes. So listen, Guma, we want to tell people if they ever need some services, how to get in contact with you, let them know what you service. Also, let them know about your book that you have, they can purchase, and let them know, and Zena, you do the same.
Absolutely. Okay. So the book is Finding Her Own Way, and a lot of what we're talking about here today is really what I talk about in this book. It is on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it in the hard copy if you want, or the paperback if you want. It talks about self-esteem, self-confidence. Everything that we're discussing here is what I talk about in this book for women. And I'm on social media. Follow me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Your Marriage Village. Your Marriage Village. And I always upload content regarding marriage and family values. Okay. Facebook, Instagram is the same handle, Your Marriage Village.
That is awesome. Is it my turn? So you can contact me one or two ways. Obviously on Facebook, my name is spelled funny, so it's down there in the bottom, Zhenya McDonald, Zena Speak Your Truth McDonald, or Zena White McDonald. I have 2 pages. Also, on Thursday nights, tomorrow night via Zoom, I have what's called H2O, Not Your Average Pulpit, where we are intentional about shifting you from religion to relationship. We have regular everyday conversation where we welcome open dialogue, because it's truly about us coming back to the community and truly being able to speak, be heard, and to help shift our perspective for a healthier way of having a rightful relationship and laying a foundation with God. And we deal with regular, literal, everyday topics that sometimes is taboo to the church, right? So again, it's not your average pulpit for a reason, because we truly deal with those everyday conversations. My book, Walking Through Hell in High Heels, you can get it off of Amazon, or you can contact me for the book. It's Walking Through THRU Hell in High Heels. Also, my website, because I also do a community, a women's group called a support group called Big Sister Circle, where we truly get intimate and we talk about literally everything, things, from relationships to self-care, self-love, to how to take care of our bodies. And we have people come on, and the community we gather around each other, and it's for women all over the world. My website is Evolve with Zena. So EVOLVE with WITH, Zena, ZHENYA. .com. So evolvewithzena.com. My whole purpose in life is to help you move from this place to that and help shift your perspective along the way with a healthy relationship and a healthy love for yourself and for others. That's all I have.
Okay, so listen. So if you need to contact these individuals and you didn't get a chance to contact them or didn't write it down, just inbox me on Suave R. Walker on Facebook, or Brother Suave on Facebook. Okay. And so if you feel, again, you were blessed, you were empowered, you learned something, feel free to send a love offering at Suave R. Walker. It's SUAVERWALKER. So listen, this has been a Suave amazing event. I'm telling you, I told you it was going to be mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and was going to be an eye-opening experience. And so, again, here on Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, we always talk from a social, spiritual, and clinical perspective, because we always believe in balance. So just remember, great minds reach great places. I love you, and I mean it. Bye-bye. Ladies, make sure you stay on, okay?
Okay.
Tune in and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard? program was made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, and from contributions to NPNTv from viewers like you.